Hello Nursing 370 students. This video will be on library resources that can help you with your research in this course. My name is Caroline Manny. I'm an instructional technology librarian here at Midway University. To contact me with any of your research needs, you can contact me directly through email at kmanny@midway.edu, or you can contact any librarian here at Midway by emailing library@midway.edu, and my office phone is 859-846-5868. Feel free to contact me for any of your research needs for any of your courses. I am your nursing library liaison. Let's start looking at your writing requirements for this particular course, NSG370. In this course, you'll be writing a book or movie review, a presentation, a case study, and 4 journal reflections, amongst other requirements. This is a 300 level course. You're moving up in the world. 300 level courses have higher requirements than your introductory courses. Some things that you need to consider as you move up in the world here are the quality of the sources that you're using, the depth of your research, and the way that you use your sources. What do I mean by that? For quality of your sources, it's no longer going to cut it for you to Google something and use the information that you find in Google, or even really Google Scholar. It's time for you to start using nursing databases so that you get peer-reviewed articles. Just as a review, what does peer-reviewed mean? Well, the difference is this. When you find an article on the internet, it's really difficult to tell who was the author of that article and what was their qualifications. Any moron can publish something in a blog, and it's hard for you to tell whether they're really qualified. But if you get articles from a peer-reviewed source, what that means is somebody submitted their article to a journal, and a panel of proven experts read that article, considered the methodology of the research, considered the sources of the research, considered the quality of the research, and deemed all of it to be worthy to be published in that journal. So experts say that this research is good research, and that's why you can trust it. Those are the sorts of sources that you need to be looking at this level of study. Depth of your research. What do I mean by that? For lower level classes, it might be okay for you to look at 1 or 2 articles, draw your conclusion, and write your paper or your case study or what have you. At the 300 level, that's really not going to cut it anymore. What you need to do is look at a number of sources, at least 5, probably more like 10 or even 20, depending on the importance of the research that you're doing. And the reason you need to look at that many is when you start looking at that many, you'll see the difference in quality between them. You'll get a wider view of the topic, and you'll be able to identify the salient points that you need to do even more research on. So you need to really spend more time on your research and broaden the number of sources that you're looking at. And then what do I mean by the way you use your sources? It's time for you to start thinking about the way you synthesize your 5, 10, 20 different sources into your own words and your own thoughts and contribute your own conclusions to the topic that you're researching. So, what tools will be helpful to you to do this? At this level, I would like to call your attention to this website, https://midway.libguides.com/nursing research guide. The Nursing Research Guide was written by Midway librarians specifically for nursing students. It contains all the resources that will be helpful to you for your course research, for this course and for the other nursing classes that you're taking. I want to take you on a little tour of this guide. Over here on the left-hand side, you can see the different types of sources that are available through this guide. The first one are news sources. We have some general important journals up here at the top. And down at the bottom, we are continuously adding news by topic. These are some topics that have been previously taught. I will soon be adding some of your course topics, such as suicide and depression, sexual assault, partner violence, child and elder abuse, PTSD, and addictions. You can look forward to seeing tabs for those coming soon. And what can you find under these tabs? For example, this article on cardiology, if we open that up, we see that the article is from a scholarly nursing journal. And in this case, we get a look at the abstract of the article, and we can see whether it is worthwhile to get it. In some cases, you'll be able to see the full article. In some cases, like this one, you'll only be able to see the abstract. So what do you do if you've decided that the article would be very useful to you, but you can only see the abstract? In that case, you can email library@midway.edu with the name of the article, the title of the article, the name of the author, and any other information that you can include, but I at least have to have the title of the article and the name of the author of the article. And then I can get you the article through interlibrary loan. It usually takes me between a day to 4 days to get those articles. So if you were looking on this news page and you see an article that you can only get in abstract, but you'd like to read the whole article, just email library@midway.edu and I'll get the article for you. So those are going to be sorted out by topics for you. Under Find Websites, in addition to just some general websites on evidence-based practice in nursing, for some of your topics, especially suicide and sexual assault and partner violence and PTSD and addictions, it might be particularly interesting to you to get some statistics on the numbers of people who are affected by these crises. You will see under Find Websites, we have federal statistics, Kentucky statistics, and even international statistics that might be useful to you. And we also have the websites of different health agencies that might be useful to you. And I'll be adding some more health agencies that deal specifically with some of the topics for your course soon. Other resources on this page that might be interesting are the Find eBooks link. Since you are online students and it may be difficult to impossible for you to come to the library to use our library collections, you can always look at the ebook collection that we have for your research needs. If you click on this link on the top, you will go to the main search page for our ebook collection. For nursing, you will probably go over to browse this left-hand link, browse by category, and look at health and medicine, or you can enter a search term up at the top. So if you have chosen the topic of suicide for one of your research needs in this class, you just type suicide and click search. And you will see a variety of ebooks that have to do with suicide. You'll also notice that under featured ebooks, in addition to some general ebooks on evidence-based practice that are always in our featured selection, I have added some books that are on your course topics, like PTSD, addiction, suicide, domestic violence, etc. So, some of those books might be interesting to you. How do you access the book? When you find a book that's interesting to you, you can click on this link, PDF full text, and it will open up a PDF of the book that you can read. Other good resources for you on the Nursing Resource Guide, and probably the most important resource for you in the Nursing Research Guide, is the Find Articles link. Under Find Articles, you will find the core nursing databases that Midway University subscribes to. For this course, the two most important databases will be CINAHL Complete and PsycInfo. CINAHL Complete is the main nursing database, and obviously PsycInfo will be interesting to this class because a lot of the topics that you guys are talking about, suicide, violence, sexual assault, will also be interesting to the psychology articles that are available in this database. How do you use these databases? When you open CINAHL Complete, for example, you will see a page that looks like this. If you type in, again, if your topic is suicide, if you type in the term suicide and click search, you're going to get 26,850 results. That is way too many results. There's no way that you can flip through that many results. That's way too much depth, right? So how can you limit this a little bit to make it a more useful search? The first thing that I would recommend is to improve your search terms. Suicide is way too general of a search term. You guys are looking at intervention or prevention of suicide. So let's try suicide intervention as a way to narrow our search. When we do that, we cut our search results from over 20,000 to 88 results. That is a way more useful number of results to look through. Another way that we can limit our results is to use this right-hand column. If you look over here, if you check full text, that will update the number of results that we get and limit it to only the results that you guys can read right away, things that you don't have to get on interlibrary loan. So that may be something that if you're in a rush that you can do to limit your results. It may also cut out things that would be valuable to you that you can get. You just have to wait 4 days for them. So be careful with that. Another way that you can limit your results that's really important in the nursing field is by this publication date. Information, even on something like suicide or sexual violence or the types of topics that you guys are looking at, from 1992 is way too old. You really need to move this slider so that you're within the last 10 years. Those are more valuable results. So now we have limited our results to 18 results on suicide intervention, and you can look through these to see which ones will be useful to you. For example, suicide intervention skills in health professionals, obviously going to be interesting for this course. And then to access that article, you just click on PDF full text, and the article opens up. One of the things at this level that you need to be doing is assessing, is this really a good article? How can you tell whether something is a good article? Just because it comes from CINAHL doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be useful to you. So what are some of the types of things that you need to look at? For example, this article lists all of the authors of the article, and often here in this area, the qualifications of the authors will be listed. So if you see that these are working professionals, doctors or nurses, if their qualifications are listed, that's probably a good sign to you. Another good way to evaluate an article is to look at the description of the methodology used in the research study and evaluate things like, is the sample size large enough? In this case, 307 medical and nursing professionals were included in this methodology. That's a decent sized sample. Something as low as 10 probably wouldn't be. You would also look at, in many cases, whether the sample was balanced. For example, are there a reasonable number of African Americans and other non-white races included in the sample? Are there men and women included in the sample, if that would be applicable to the topic? Things of that nature. And another thing that you should look at when evaluating a research paper is the discussion section. In a balanced research paper, in the discussion section, the authors will discuss the limitations of the study and make them known to you. So that is another sign that the research paper that you're looking at is a good research paper. And finally, the last thing that can be extremely useful to you when looking at a research paper is to look at the references. Always look at the journal titles of the papers that are referred to from the research and see whether any of them will be useful to you. Like, for example, in this case, as I scan these, I am looking for papers that are more recent, like this 2005 one, and then I'm looking at the title. This title is The Effects on Suicide Rates of an Educational Intervention for Frontline Health Professionals with Suicidal Patients. This might be an interesting article to look up to see whether it itself might be useful for your research. This is called bibliography mining, and bibliography mining is a really good way to broaden the number of sources that you're looking at and to investigate whether the paper that you originally considered is really a good source. So you can kill two birds with one stone when you look carefully at the bibliography of the papers that you're considering using. Okay, let's go back to our search results. Let's suppose that we looked at the articles that we found on suicide intervention and we didn't find enough articles. That doesn't mean that you should stop researching and pick a different topic because you couldn't find enough stuff. What you need to do is just think of different search terms that you could use to maybe get different results. So, for example, instead of suicide intervention, maybe you could try suicide prevention. It's not the same thing, but it's similar, and it might yield some useful articles. When I put in suicide prevention, I get a variety of different articles. Some of them are useful. Development and initial evaluation of suicide prevention curriculum for domestic violence hotline workers. That might be interesting to your course. But advancing suicide prevention through a focus on firearm safety may be not so interesting for your course. So I might even need to limit this search term even further. In addition to brainstorming different ways to talk about prevention or intervention, different words that I might use there, I might also throw in more limiters like nursing. Suicide prevention, if I add nursing to that, that's going to take out the law enforcement slant to the search results and give me more nursing results. It might limit things a little too much, like in this case, I only got one result that way, but then I could play around with the term nursing and brainstorm that. And maybe instead of just saying nursing, I could say healthcare or other related topics that would then give me different results. So the point is when you're putting in your search results here, you've got to play with a lot of different ways to search for the same thing so that you get a wider variety of articles to consider. Okay, so that's some information about finding information and using good search terms. Now let's talk about what to do with the articles once you find them. Back on the Nursing Research Guide, if you look under Research Tips, and specifically under Using and Citing Information, you're going to find some good information on when to use quotes or summaries or paraphrases of the information that you found, some explanations of what is meant by quoting, summarizing, and paraphrasing, and some explanations of when you would use each one. And more importantly, some good information that I recommend that you have a look at on how to integrate quotes into your paper smoothly and effectively. So these are some really good resources for you to have a look at whenever you're having any trouble with the actual writing process and how you would use the quotes for your paper. And if you need any help with that, remember, you can always contact me, your library liaison, at any of these email addresses or at my office telephone number. I hope this was helpful. Thanks.